Let's open the file. Welcome back to our ongoing investigation of the anomalous events surrounding Station 13. Today, we're systematically reviewing the classified documents and, frankly, the terrifying revelations of Case File 3, the 1985 paradox. What started as a standard inquiry into an abandoned radio broadcast has fractured into something entirely unexplainable. We are going to examine the evidence to understand exactly what happened to our primary investigator, Ethan Brooks. Prepare yourselves. The facts we are about to document defy every known law of physics, time, and reality.
We begin the timeline here. November 1st, 2026, 12:01 a.m. Note the exact time. This is the precise moment the incident escalated. Beneath the ruins of Station 13 in West Virginia, the mysterious voices abruptly stopped. The screens in the underground bunker went completely dark. It was at this exact, documented second that the timeline shattered.
And in that darkness, the objective truth became terrifyingly clear. Ethan Brooks wasn't just an outside observer. He remembered his life, not as a detective arriving decades later, but as employee number 06. The historic 1985 Station 13 fire didn't kill everyone. Ethan was the sole survivor. He was the one who escaped the flames 41 years ago. He was the one who simply forgot. Until now.
Let's look at the terrifying environmental shift Ethan experienced upon waking. You have the modern reality of present-day West Virginia he knew, and then the anomaly he woke up to just outside the burned station. The modern world had been completely replaced. The forest road where he parked his car vanished. Zero cell signal. As he walked toward the nearest town, the architecture, the vehicles, the very air itself, it was an isolated environment, perfectly frozen in 1985. The undeniable proof of his displacement lay right on the ground before him. Look at the date on the recovered newspaper, November 1st, 1985, the morning after the fire. The headline reads, Station 13 Fire, 12 Dead. Ethan was standing in the exact day after the tragedy he was supposed to be investigating 41 years in the future.
But the horror wasn't merely environmental. It was profoundly physical. Let's methodically review the evidence of Ethan's physical regression documented in the file. His hands were shaking, and not just from fear, but because they belonged to a much younger man. His modern clothing had seamlessly transformed into 1985 attire. And even more disturbingly, as he moved through the town, he discovered he was completely invisible to pedestrians, just a ghost walking through the past. When he looked through the window of the local police station, he saw his own missing person file sitting right on a desk. The status? Presumed dead.
Then, the silence of the 1985 street was broken by a radio broadcast coming from a shop window. It was his own voice, the voice of a young Ethan from 1985, broadcasting, Ethan Brooks here, Station 13. They're not signals, they're warnings. From the future. Just hear those words. Let their impossible nature sink in. He was listening to his own warning, broadcast from the past, warning of the future he had just come from.
As the broadcast played, the traumatic amnesia completely dissolved, revealing a horrific sequence of events. He remembered that as a young employee, he was the one who found the hidden basement beneath the station. He was the one who found and played the anomalous tapes. And most damning of all, he was the one who opened the forbidden door.
Which brings us to the critical flashback timestamp. November 1st, 1985, 11:57 p.m., the night of the original fire. Just minutes before the blaze would consume the building and 12 innocent lives.
In the basement, moments before the fire, young Ethan recorded a final, desperate message. The audio transcript reads, "If anyone finds this, the signal, it's not from our time. It's from 2026. They're using us." This is the chilling implication. The terrifying broadcast from 1985 was actually a warning about a hostile invasion from the year 2026. He recorded this mere seconds before non-human shadow breached the basement door, forcing him to flee upstairs into the inferno.
Now, let's clinically map out this impossible paradox. The 1985 warning is recorded in the basement. Young Ethan escapes the station fire. He lives his life, forgets, and eventually undergoes his 2026 awakening as an investigator. He returns to the ruins and suddenly gasps for air as he snaps back to the reality of 2026. But look at the final point of intersection. In 2026, present-day Ethan is physically holding the exact same physical tape he just remembered recording in 1985.
And then,
His two-way radio crackled to life. The mysterious, taunting voice from our previous investigation returned with visceral intensity. "You remember now, Ethan," it whispered. "You didn't escape the fire. You escaped time itself."
The psychological horror of his situation culminated as Ethan caught his reflection in the broken glass of the ruined station. Half of his face is the young man from 1985. The other half is the older investigator from 2026. Both temporal versions of Ethan Brooks now exist simultaneously in one distorted, impossible reflection. The paradox has broken him.
It's at this stage of the investigation that we must completely redefine the parameters. Station 13 was never just a radio station. It was a door, a structural conduit between timelines, a portal designed for one terrifying purpose: to allow the entity trapped in the basement to cross over. And young Ethan unknowingly opened it for them.
What happens next is an apocalyptic escalation event, unfolding in 3 distinct phases. First, the ground beneath Ethan's feet violently shakes as Station 13 supernaturally reconstructs itself from the ashes. Second, the massive broadcast tower activates, sending a blinding pulse of light into the night sky. Third, across the entire country, every single radio in America turns on simultaneously. They all lock onto a single frequency.
Across the nation, Ethan's voice from 1985 begins playing in 2026. But with the paradox complete, the true nature of the signal is finally revealed. The broadcast was never a warning to stay away. It is an invitation, a cosmic trap designed to force the listener to mentally connect with the signal, thereby widening the doorway for the entity to finally pull itself through the static. The signal acts as a cognitive infection vector. The entity connects everyone across all timelines through this specific, inescapable sequence. You hear the broadcast, you become compelled to investigate the signal, and by investigating, you inevitably remember or uncover the truth of the paradox. Once you reach the final step, you are inextricably linked to the entity's network.
Realizing he is the anchor for the invasion, Ethan attempts the only logical action left to him. He raises his hand to violently destroy the 1985 tape he's holding, to break the loop. But as the evidence confirms, his hand will not move. Paralysis sets in, complete loss of bodily autonomy. The entity, broadcasting through his past and his present, controls him completely. He is now forever a helpless, conscious part of the signal.
As Ethan stands frozen in the shadows of the rebuilt station, his radio crackles one final time. But it's not the entity, it's a new voice. A young, female voice. The transmission plays. "Ethan, I found your tape. I'm coming to the station. November 2nd, 2026. The tragic inevitability of this loop is clear. Someone else has found the anomaly. Someone else is walking blindly into the exact same trap.
And Ethan cannot move to stop her, because he is the signal now. Which brings us to a grim, unavoidable conclusion. The entity's transmission cannot be silenced. The timeline is fractured. The trap is reset. Case file 04 is already open. Our investigation must continue because the anomaly is spreading.
As we close this file, we are left with a chilling question. As the timeline fractures and a new investigator approaches the impossible ruins of Station 13, can this signal ever truly be silenced? Or are we simply documenting the end of our own reality? If you survived this case file, join us next time as we examine the horrific fate of the next arrival. Until then, stay curious, stay alert, and never stop questioning. VexmoraXFiles signing off.